Today's stories begin with routine moments that spiral into chaos before anyone can catch their breath. These are 5 stories that show how quickly everything can go wrong, even during what seems like a routine day. These officers have no idea that a routine emergency call or daily assignment can turn into a high-speed chase. Number 1. The casino ambush.
Multiple police agencies blocked off portions of the Grand Sierra Resort Monday after a shooter opened fire, killing 3 people and injuring 3 others.
The call came in just after sunrise. It was 7:25 a.m. when dispatchers sent out an urgent alert. Reports of an active shooter at the Grand Sierra Resort and Casino. Within seconds, Reno police and multiple partnering agencies were racing toward 2500 East 2nd Street.
989423.
Right here.
By the time the first patrol cars rolled into the northwest parking lot, the suspect was already waiting. Officers hadn't even stepped fully out of their vehicles before the suspect raised his weapon and opened fire. It was a Glock 9mm, and he used it with deadly precision.
Put the gun down!
Bullets slammed into the patrol car. 2 rounds pierced the top portion of the windshield, spider-webbing the glass right in front of the officer's face. Another hit the front passenger side tire, instantly deflating it and grinding the car into the pavement. A 4th tore into the bumper with a violent metallic crack. In those first few seconds, officers found themselves in a kill zone. The only option left was to fire back. Dashcams and eyewitnesses captured the moment the officers steadied their weapons and unleashed a volley of shots. At least 1 round tore through the center of the windshield. Not from the suspect, but from an officer's return fire blasting outward in a desperate counterattack. The suspect was struck multiple times. He collapsed in the parking lot, still armed, but the barrage of gunfire had stopped the threat. Officers moved in, guns drawn, cuffed him where he lay, and immediately began first aid.
Where's the gun? Where's the gun?
Where's the gun?
Gun's right here. Got it.
But the nightmare wasn't over. Inside the resort and surrounding area, victims were scattered. Some were bleeding, some barely conscious. Several casino employees and guests rushed to help until more officers, the Reno Fire Department, and REMSA paramedics arrived. The scene was frantic. By the end, the toll was devastating. 6 people had been shot. 3 would not survive. Families who thought their loved ones were safe inside a casino that morning were suddenly facing the unthinkable.
I was in shock. I couldn't believe that it happened here. I guess there's been a lot of shootings here though, but I was in kind of disbelief. God bless them, and I hope they heal very well, and prayers with them.
The suspect was identified as 26-year-old Dakota Hoover. He was rushed to the hospital under heavy guard, but succumbed to his injuries 2 days later on July 30th. The Sparks Police Department was assigned as the lead investigative agency. In keeping with standard protocol, the officers involved were placed on administrative leave pending review. Case number 2, the elevator standoff. It was just after midnight at the Royal Albert's Palace Hotel on King George Post Road, when a tense investigation suddenly turned into a scene of chaos. For hours, officers from Edison and Woodbridge police departments had been combing the property, joined by detectives from the NYPD. They were following up on a criminal investigation that had ties to New York, and the hotel lobby was now full of law enforcement quietly gathering information. The lobby was calm. Guests moved in and out, unaware of what was about to happen. At 12:21 a.m., the elevator bell chimed and the door slid open. Out stepped 46-year-old Carl Gregory. He was carrying multiple bags, his eyes scanning the room. At first, nothing seemed out of the ordinary, but then he spotted the officers. The moment Gregory locked eyes with law enforcement, everything changed. He froze, dropped the bags he was holding, and in one swift move reached into a black backpack. Officers shouted commands, their weapons drawn, but it was already too late. Gunfire erupted in the middle of the hotel lobby. Gregory fired off rounds as Woodbridge officers Drew Krupinski and Justin Nerney, along with NYPD Detective Matthew Morrow, returned fire in a split-second firefight. Bullets tore through the quiet lobby, echoing off marble floors and shattering the silence of the late-night hour. Guests ducked behind furniture, staff screamed, and the flashing lights from gunfire turned the hotel lobby into a battlefield. When the smoke cleared, Gregory was down, shot multiple times. Nerney and Morrow had both been hit in the exchange. Officers rushed in, stripping off their gloves and dropping to the ground to perform life-saving measures on the suspect, despite the fact that moments earlier he had opened fire on them.
The back! Get us shoot!
Start to rig.
Paramedics arrived within minutes, but Gregory was pronounced dead at the scene. A handgun was recovered close to where he fell, proof of the violent standoff that had just unfolded. Officers Nerney and Morrow were transported to the hospital where, after treatment, they were later released. For those inside the Royal Albert's Palace that night, what began as an ordinary evening quickly descended into chaos. An elevator door opening, a suspect reaching into his bag, and in seconds, a routine investigation turned into a deadly shootout. Case 3. The Deadly Pursuit. It was a Monday afternoon when Oklahoma City dispatchers received a call that would set off one of the most tragic and dramatic pursuits the city had ever seen. The suspect was 40-year-old Quentin Broaddus. Moments earlier, Broaddus had done the unthinkable. Police say he murdered his wife, 33-year-old Kalia Broaddus, in cold blood. By the time officers spotted his vehicle, he was already on the move, leading them into a desperate 3-mile chase through the neighborhoods of northwest Oklahoma City. Dashcams captured the pursuit as cruisers trailed closely behind Broaddus's car, sirens wailing and lights flashing. Witnesses described the chase as terrifying, with Broaddus blowing through intersections and swerving wildly as officers tried to contain him. For 3 long miles, the tension built. Finally, Broaddus's vehicle came to a stop, but instead of surrendering, he threw the door open and stepped out. In his hand was a gun. Officers immediately shouted commands, ordering him to drop the weapon. Bodycam footage shows the critical moment. Broaddus stood outside his car, armed, ignoring repeated commands. And then it happened. In a split-second decision that would determine everyone's fate, 6 officers opened fire. Gunshots rang out, echoing through the street as Broaddus collapsed to the pavement. He was struck multiple times, and the gun fell from his hand. The scene was over just as fast as it began.
Hold your fire! Show me your fucking hands now! Show me your hands! Show me your hands now!
When the dust settled, officers secured the weapon and approached cautiously, confirming Broaddus was no longer a threat. Paramedics were called, but it was too late. He was pronounced dead at the scene. No officers were injured in the shootout, and after an investigation, all 6 were cleared of wrongdoing. Still, the case left the community shaken. What began with the murder of a young woman spiraled into a chase, a confrontation, and a deadly end caught entirely on bodycam. It was a chilling reminder of how fast routine patrols can turn into life-or-death situations. In less than an hour, Quentin Broaddus had destroyed 2 lives, his wife's and his own. Case number 4, the Campus Standoff. It was a quiet Sunday morning in Columbus when the call came in at 8 a.m. A burglary in progress was reported on the 1500 block of Worthington Street. The caller told dispatchers the suspect wasn't just breaking in. He was inside the home with a gun. Officers rushed to the scene, unsure of what they were about to walk into. When they arrived, the suspect bolted. He was identified as 21-year-old Asante Taj Omar Miller, and in his hand was a firearm. The chase was on.
He's got a 33 on him. Step 3 has got a 33.
Body cams captured officers shouting over and over, ordering Miller to drop the weapon. Neighbors peeked from their windows as the suspect ran through yards and alleys, the tension growing with every step. But Miller refused to surrender.
There he is!
Put the gun down! Put the gun down!
Put it down! Put it down! Put it down right now! Put it down!
Then came the first exchange of gunfire. Officers discharged their weapons when Miller aimed his gun, and the chase took a deadly turn. Instead of stopping, Miller forced entry into another residence on West 8th Avenue, kicking down the door in a desperate attempt to hide.
Put it down!
Stop it!
Put it down! Get the gun!
For hours, the quiet neighborhood was on edge. Police surrounded the home, sirens echoed, and residents were told to stay inside. Inside the house, Miller tried to evade capture. Officers moved cautiously room to room, weapons drawn, clearing the house section by section.
Y'all need to put the gun! Put the gun down! Put it down! Put the
Finally, around 1:15 p.m., nearly 5 hours after the ordeal began, officers cornered Miller in one of the rooms. He still had the weapon. The confrontation erupted in another round of gunfire. By the time it was over, Miller had been fatally struck.
Coming out, clear. All right. One left. He's in here!
Paramedics confirmed his death on scene. No officers were injured, but the residents of the home he forced into were left traumatized after watching their house turn into the center of a shootout. What started as a single burglary call spiraled into a multi-hour standoff that shut down an entire block of Ohio State's South Campus. For the community, it was a chilling reminder that on any given morning, violence can explode without warning. Number 5. The barbershop shootout. It started with a desperate call for help. Police in San Francisco were contacted by the family of 21-year-old Jihad Eid of Suisun City. They told officers he had threatened to shoot them, that he was armed, and that he was dangerous. Officers immediately began tracking him down, and the trail led them to a small barbershop on Geneva Avenue near Mission Boulevard.
You got me confused with somebody else. What's your name? Nobody? Okay. Yeah.
Inside the shop, customers were in barber chairs. Others waited for a cut, completely unaware of what was coming. Officers entered the barbershop, body cams rolling, ready to confront Eid. The moment they stepped inside, chaos erupted. Eid pulled a gun and opened fire. Bullets ripped across the cramped space, shattering mirrors and sending terrified customers diving to the floor.
Have you copied? Someone go make the 909. Therefore, I'll have to... God damn it! Cover!
Body cam footage shows one officer hit and falling back, struggling to return fire from the ground as Eid continued shooting. 9 rounds came from Eid's weapon in just seconds, turning the barbershop into a war zone.
Get down! Shots fired.
Officers scrambled for cover as barbers and clients crawled behind chairs and counters, the sound of screams mixing with the crack of gunfire. The close-quarters firefight escalated quickly as 2 officers returned fire with everything they had. In a matter of moments, 26 shots had been fired by police. Eid was hit 18 times. He collapsed to the floor, still clutching his weapon, as officers cautiously moved in.
Oh my God! Get out now!
But the damage was already catastrophic. 5 people had been wounded in the crossfire, including a teenager and 1 officer who was shot in the leg. Paramedics rushed to the scene as officers tried to secure the shop, but the horror was undeniable. Eid was transported to the hospital but died shortly after. For the community, it was a nightmare. A family conflict that spilled into a crowded neighborhood barbershop, leaving innocent bystanders caught in the middle. At a later town hall meeting, investigators confirmed Eid had fired first. His family had been terrified of what he might do, and in the end, his threats became a devastating reality. What should have been an ordinary day at the barbershop turned into one of the most violent police shootouts San Francisco had seen in years.